Hey guys, Khalid from Cricket Fanatics magazine here with another episode of the podcast live show. And today we got a very important topic to talk about. And as per usual, I have that my partner in crime over here, Dan, on the show with me. How's it, Dan? How you been doing?
Good man, good. Thanks for having me again, mate.
Yeah. So, guys, as you know, the topic of discussion is going to be transformation in South African cricket. Now, we're going to go down a nice history of it and a nice path with regards to how we're going to approach it. You'll get to know the themes and we'll be able to follow. We obviously have two important guests. We've got Graham October on the show, and as well as Siya Sibiya. So, before we get started, we just want to say this all sparked off, obviously, with the highlight of George Floyd and everything that happened in America, and that has highlighted stuff in South Africa that a lot of people jumped on board with regards to that. And this is not the thing about whether it's Black Lives Matter or not, all lives matter, etc. This is just us trying to talk about transformation in South Africa and speak about what is important about it, how we can improve on it, what we as South African citizens can do to improve it, etc. So, without further ado, let me just get right into the conversation. Dan, are you happy with me to bring on our guest right straight away?
Absolutely, man. Keen to hear
Cool,
from you.
cool. That's awesome. So, first and foremost, I want to introduce Mr. Graham October. So now, Mr. Graham October is a CSA scout, and he also works at Western Province as well, and he has a lot of influence on a lot of young cricketers' careers, etc. So, I have this thought about it. How am I going to introduce Mr. O? And just from times with me being in the, you know, being in the Western Province press box, etc., and listening to him, I thought I brought one of his favorite artists. So, hello, Mr. O, how are you doing?
Khalid and Dan, thanks for having me, my brother. Let me just. I see you've introduced me. Let me just make a disclaimer here quickly before we continue. Yes, you're right. Currently, I'm a CSA scout. I work at Western Province. I work in the youth setup. I work at the academy level. I've been there for quite some time. I've been in the cricket game for close to 42 years. But I belong to various organizations, and I just want to say from the outset that I represent nobody. I don't speak on behalf of any faction, any group, any divide. I speak as Graham, and as only Graham knows how. And so this is not an agenda or a narrative that I'm pushing from a certain sector of the community, right? You don't need to speak to me about my blackness. I've been black for 55 years, so I know what that is, black. So I'm not here to. I speak, and I'm open for corrections. I'm open for education. I'm open for learning. As a grown man, I'm also still maturing. So let me just say from the onset that I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody. I don't even speak on behalf of my family. This is purely what I say. It's purely how I feel. It's my idea, my way of thinking. It might not be your way of thinking. It might not be correct according to you, but this is how I see it, and I'm open to be corrected and to be guided and to be taught. So that is
Yeah.
me from the onset there, Khalid, and then
Yeah. So, Mr. O, this was the song that I wanted to play as the intro for you. Just tell me a little bit about what that means to you.
you see 1977, 78, in those times I was conscientized as this is one of my greats in my life. He's been a prophet ahead of his time. He conscientized us politically. I'll just give you a touch. He's a young man, Robert Nesta Marley. He's a young man that was born. He's an interrace marriage. His mother was a farmer and his father worked in the garrison because the English has obviously colonialized the West Indies. So he was born out of that, and out of his situation and slavery and poverty and the injustices of the colonial people in Jamaica and the West Indies for that. And gave rise to this young man, which became an icon in the world.
Mm.
He's been born for how long?
Yeah.
His music will live on for generations to come. It's the same as the other friend of mine, which died too young, 25 years ago, and that is Tupac Shakur. That's my other
Yeah.
influence.
So with that, I'm going to introduce you to our next guest, and obviously Siya Sibiya. He will. This is the song that we want to really play for him because it makes sense to him. So I thought I'll pick two songs, guys. Welcome to the show. I thought I'll pick two songs that really actually go with the topic that we're talking about today. I think it's obviously very important. I don't know if Dan knows a lot about Tupac Shakur, but we're gonna educate you today.
Now you'll
My
find out a
gym
little
playlist.
bit.
What are you talking about? That's half my gym playlist.
No, good man, good man. You got good taste, and I hope you have a better consciousness and understanding, Dan, of what this man is telling us. No, thank you, Khalid. Thank you, Dan, and Mr. O. So good to see you again, Baba. Always a pleasure having conversations with you, and obviously the influence you've had in my life and in my thinking and my growth as not just only as a person that loves cricket, that is passionate about cricket, but as a coach who's got such a big role to play in developing young lives and young men, and you've done that for me. So thank you very much. I'm always grateful for your mentorship and leadership. Um, but yeah, I'm going to go in the same path, and I just want to say that whatever I say tonight and whatever I put out there, and it's not. Please let it not be misconstrued as I'm speaking on behalf of the federation I work for, on behalf of you know myself, my family, on behalf of any other union or space that I represent, because these are the views of Siya Sibiya. My thoughts, they may be incorrect at times, and I'm always open to be corrected and to grow and to learn, which is why I do what I do, and I'm so passionate about it. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands that there's no agenda being driven here. There's obviously thoughts and experience and heartfelt pain and growth and excitement and energy and all the euphoric experience we experience as people involved in sport and involved in this beautiful country. These are my thoughts. They are my views, and they are my pains, and they are my successes. And I just want everyone to know that I have no influence. On what I say should never have an influence on where I work, who I represent, and what I'm about completely as a human being. There's a lot that we go through in this country, and I've been part of it. Hence that song. So thank you very much for having me on the show, and that's my disclaimer. And it is out there.
So let me just put a disclaimer on this video as well. All of the opinions and all the thoughts and all the everything that you hear today is not necessarily a representation of the people that are on the show, and it's not necessarily a representation of. I'm talking about the companies that we work for, etc. So I'm talking about it doesn't represent Dan and the company he works for. It doesn't represent me and Cricket Fanatics It represents me, but not Cricket Fanatics magazine. It doesn't represent Siya and Gauteng. It doesn't represent Mr. October and his organization that he works for. This is our chat about what we feel and what our thought processes are about this. But we're going to go with the top and probably move back. So I'm going to give Dan the first question about
Surely you want
what.
to know about my situation with the song. Surely, come on.
Okay,
Why
let me
why
know.
that song? Why that song?
Okay, let me know. Let me know that song because I thought it would be quite obvious because it is Tupac Shakur. But let's go with what your thoughts are.
It's a
Why
little
that
bit
song?
different. I think Khalid, in terms of what I do and what I've been exposed to and the life I've lived and the many blessings is I was raised by women. Um, I was raised by my grandmother, a domestic worker, and I was raised by my mom and the people that she worked for. Sometimes good, some good days, some bad days. In that environment as a young black man with a hell of a lot of ambition. So there's a community of boys and players and people that are out there that live the life that I live, or lived, and have ambitions to make it as people and as cricketers or whatever it is that they want to do. That song hits home for me a lot on a hell of a lot of emotional levels. Um, you know, because I'm very much I'm not an advocate. I'm not like running in the streets and, picketing with a picket in my hand about what's going on with women and children and the violence in our country and in the world. So that song represents being raised by a matriarch, and that's why it's powerful for me. And there's a certain degree of transformation and emotion that goes into that space, and what we are doing as men and what we represent as men, which is where I link my coaching and my influence as a I call myself, I'd like to say I'm a leader, because I'm leading the players that I work with, and I have a big role to play in how they represent themselves and the women in their lives and how they treat them.
Okay, cool. So Dan, I'm going to give the platform to you. I'm going to let you open up with the first question, and we'll work it from there.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad we got all the disclaimers out the way now, so no one can get in trouble at least. I think just to start off with, maybe just sort of a basic introduction of who you are and where you sort of fit into the system. Maybe I think just for anyone watching you who doesn't really know, what exactly, for example, does a Cricket South Africa scout do? Where do you fit in? What is your role? Yeah, so maybe we start with Greg.
Yeah, as a scout, I'm entrusted to 3 regions, which is Western Province, Boland, and SWD. And obviously, the job is to look for talent at schoolboy level. I'm into the school system, and outside of, and my heart is more outside. If I have, let me get this right, because there is a vast player pool outside of your boys' school system,
Absolutely,
right? Which is an untapped place. But and their only crime out there is, the only sin of those boys out there is they have no facilities. They have no facilities. They have there's no proper structures in some of those places. They don't play as regularly, as often as they can. Whereas your mainstream schools plays 40 to 50 games a year, and you can only get better. You see?
Yeah.
So I go around and nurture and see and then I've taken on an added responsibility. That is, nobody gave me the responsibility. It just comes naturally as a grown-up, as a father, right? So some boys genuinely struggles. Genuinely. Right? So where I can help or get, if I can't help you, I'll get somebody to help you, to nurture you, to guide you. Because ultimately, all of these boys are not going to play for South Africa. But I still want to see him being an upstanding member of society, to contribute to society positively on the back of all the hardships that he goes through. It's just from a humane point of view to sit and listen to this rain, right? And to think of some of these boys that lives in a low-lying area in a shack, my brother. I can tell you now, they don't live there today because the shack is underwater. They found some higher ground. And those are the dynamics that I'm involved with. And that is probably just me being a father and reaching out to kids and see how best I can help them, right? From a cricketing point of view, I don't know everything. Skill-wise, I don't know everything. So what I normally do is I spot talent, because remember that you're not dealing with finished articles here. Because boys, you are actually identifying on promise and potential. Now, once you see promise and potential, I think it is incumbent upon me to create an access, an opportunity for that promise and potential. And in Cape Town, when Siya was still around, what I would do is, Siya was always my second opinion. I've seen A or I've seen B, or he needs to get into the car and we're going to see the player that I saw and just run it past him. What does he think from a skill set? This is what I saw. And that is how Siya and myself used to operate, you see. Sometimes when the going gets tough, I do miss him still. I miss him a lot because he's one of the biggest sons that I have. But that is how, even now, We will still meet at tournaments. We will meet at. We just recently had a Lekker week at the Colts week, and there we still play with ideas of game plans of how do you see this player, where is he in the system, and and I love what I'm doing. No amount of money can equal to what I do. I just genuinely love what I'm doing, purely based. I come from an era or an area where I did not have that opportunity. And let me tell you, these youngsters that we see today, they have much more and 10 times more talent than I ever had at their age. So I only hustled my way through the game. But for these boys with this talent, I cannot sit idly by and see them just go down the drain or just go to waste. You see? So that is why I will guide them, I will nurture them, I will mentor them, right? To be the best that they can be, not only on a cricket field, to be the best, because you will also find most of, and seeing that we talk transformation, the black boys, if I speak specifically of the black boy as in black African, right? They come from single parent homes, and most of them are women. And some of their parents does 2 jobs, mania, right? And we find the comfort to put them into these schools, into a hostel, away from the dangers of the township, right? Away from the dangers of the township, in the safety of these hostels. And we know at not only the issue of what happened at Bishops the other day, the stance they took. I can take you back to when 20 years ago, when a guy laid the charge in South Africa against the sir at one of the prominent schools for molesting him at the hostels. You see? So that was 20 years ago. It came up last year, at 2019, it was a big issue, in the back end of 2018. So it shows you what these boys are subjected to. You see, the mother that placed the boy in the school, I don't blame her, because it saves her finance, it takes the burden of the finances away, right? It takes that burden away. He gets 3 meals. So she's actually at peace with herself, and she looks after the other 2 or the other 3 at home. You see?
Yeah.
And that bridge there, like Siya will tell you, that is where I play a little role between the parent and the school, and the cricket, and the boy, and the school, and that is how I just try to be the father figure for him.
Yeah.
If he needs to speak, and those things. Those are the little things that I do. At Western Province, I'm fully immersed in those things, and I work at academy level, and obviously these boys surface eventually to academy level. So I have a relation with them from under 15, 17, 19 into the academy, and I follow their career paths. You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
For instance, Tando and Tini. So I will always follow his career path because I love him too much. And that is what I try to do. It's not about accolades or a feather in my cap and those things. Because I went to a video this afternoon that Khalid and myself with Siya Sibiya, where he highlighted what he's going through at school. You see, so and just be a buffer for him, be a shoulder to cry on, to lean on, and just to. We still speak regularly, and those are youngsters. That is what, like I say to you, it's not a matter of me putting a feather in my cap or I'm going to be the man, brother.
Yeah,
it's not about. At my age, what feathers do I still want?
Yeah.
I don't have long to live, right? I'm 55 now. I might live another 40 years. So you see, but like I say to you, it's not about me being in the forefront of leading a charge. You see?
Yeah.
And let me also tell you that Khalid will know, Siya will know. And in this process of me meeting them and getting closer to them, whether you are black, white, colored, Indian, it doesn't matter. I try to conscientize you politically, right? Like
Yeah.
people spoke to me at a young age about the do's and the don'ts of the world out there, because our youngsters at the moment, they are oblivious to this world. You see, when they move out of the township and they go into these schools, something that really sometimes gets me, they take on the persona of the colonial master. They speak like him, they talk like him, they eat like him, and eventually he becomes detached. I cannot tell a boy what to do and how his life should run. All my main drive through this is just so that he does not get detached from, especially the black boy. You can ask anyone that knows me. His custom, his elders, the respect for his ancestors. Those are the fundamentals of where he comes from. And sometimes we just chuck it away and move on, and we just can't care less. You see? And then we now come to realization after watching a guy die for 9 minutes, to see a guy's life go. And that has brought reality back to our boys. And that is why you see all of a sudden the outcry. Because they're in pain, my friend. That's where I am there.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a lot more complicated than the job spec, I assume. Obviously, there's the cricket element, and then there's the sort of humanitarian element, right? Would you say that you went into the you went into the job with that's sort of what you were actually looking to do, and the cricket was sort of more of a vehicle to do that, or did you go in there with the intentions of looking for good cricketers? Was that the job and it sort of developed into that, or?
Dan, you understand? Let me put it to you this way. Cricket has been a vehicle for me personally, right? I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to go. I always said, many people had dreams and so forth and where wants to be. I always said from a very young age, I want to go to a cricket field 365 days a year. Because that's how much I love the game, because the game has been good to me in various areas of my personal life. It's taken me away from the township. I dabbled, made a couple of wrong choices early in my younger life. I dabbled in a lot of other stuff. And cricket has always kept me on the straight and narrow. And in that process, I've also been exposed to the inequalities in the game itself and life itself. And like I said to you, meeting up with these boys and seeing the amount of potential there, just not on the cricket field. All I wanted to do, because he comes from adverse background, I just want to be there for him. He can use me at any time. Let me tell you, they disappoint you too. You cry too. You cry too. You get heartache too, like a parent. He messes up. But they are kids. And it's okay to mess up. It's okay as long as there's a learning. And that's where I come in, you see. I'm not going to hold your hand and navigate, because in your school system, you also get what I call lawnmower parents, in the sense that they pave the way for the kids. So they push the lawnmower and push everything out of the way for the pathway to their kids. You understand? I did an article or at the finals of the Schools T20 with Khalid, and where I feel for these kids sometimes across the board. I can tell you now, across the board, man. I feel for them in a sense that when he's played poorly for the day and he has to drive with his pops home tonight in that car after the game, pal, it's not a good conversation. right?
Mm.
He gets hammered. So these are the pressures that these youngsters are under.
Yeah.
You understand? So it is the school, it's his parent. Just remember, the parent also plays his life through his kid. And I can tell you that as a fact. You know why? Because I am one of those. I was that parent. I had a young man, a youngster, my own son, which probably was one of the better cricketers in his time when he played. Played provincial, 15, 17, coke side, everything. Packed up at the age of 23. Why? Because of me. Wanting him to do certain things that I haven't done in my life. Play this shot. Why did you play this? Forever an argument in our home, and it becomes so unsavory on a Saturday in our home. He comes, he plays in our first side, of which I'm the captain. And he's 16, 17 years old. And I'm all over him. I mean, I actually took the love for this game, the passion for the game, the enjoyment of the game. I took it out of my own son. And I see that circle still playing itself out there. And I said to myself, if I can affect change, I'm going to start at that space. And I do speak to parents about their conduct. Yes, and some people have their fair share into my ear. Some funky words we have said from time to time. But be that's par for the course. Man. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
at the end yes, carry on.
Yeah, sorry. I
Just jump.
just want to, I just want to bring Siya in quickly because I know Siya also doesn't have much time with us.
Getting
Siya,
cold.
yeah, he's getting.
No,
Siya,
we've had these conversations with Mr. O.
yeah. So Siya, obviously, I know what you heard, Mr. O, and what he said. But give me your brief introduction on what your role is currently in cricket. But also, I want to ask you about to give the viewers some sort of understanding about transformation in South Africa and how it actually works with regards to the national setup. Maybe you can start and then just move down the systems a bit.
Thank you again, guys. For me, yes, what Mr. O is saying there is extremely powerful because we never used to debate things. We used to chat about things. We disagree. But this conversation has always been at the forefront of our leveling the playing fields saying. And leveling the playing fields is not necessarily trying to push black players or players of color ahead of white players, but it's making sure that the side that is not taken care of is that black parents can't take care of, or parents are previously disadvantaged, whether white, whether black, whether colored, whether Indian, whatever you want to call it. We try to bridge that gap. For me, obviously, I'm not obviously, but I'm working for Central Gauteng Lions. I've had a great opportunity to move away from home, what I've always known, to a space where the challenge is a different challenge. The Joburg kid he's got deep skeletons, deep scars, disparities, and all those things. Not that the Cape Town or any other part of the country isn't, but my challenge was different here, and the lessons that I learned from Mr. O. What Mr. O does in Western Province, I do as a coach and as a I say a brother to some of these kids, as a father to some of these kids, and I don't have kids of my own yet. But my role is it's not just skills coaching anymore. It's really extended itself because Joburg's massive, man. And I've kind of it's no longer about what's going on at school only, but for me as an academy and under 19 coach, it's what's going on at school and what's going on at varsity. Can I get you into varsity? Can I get you into res? Can I get you? Can I get you into res? Can I make sure that you have something other than cricket when you're done with the game, or when the game maybe doesn't work out or there's a setback? So for me, transformation is making sure that those things are met, because you know what? Unfortunately, some of these black boys, they finish schools, these players of color and all stuff, they finish school. The friends that they had at school don't want anything to do with them after school, mate. That's the reality. That is why this outcry of what's going on is there, and these guys are speaking out about inequality in schools, which we've dealt with. Boys getting marginalized and getting kicked out of school systems because, you know what, got to create a gap for a more fortunate player, if I could say it in that way, to be politically correct. And we all know which demographic I'm speaking about, but those things are real. They happen.
Yeah.
And it's, and our situation is about, making sure that, at least there's someone to go meet with the principal on behalf of this player of color that's stuffed up, having a conversation. Mr. O's done it. I've done it. Case in point is Bonga Makaka's transition, from having been at Wynberg Boys to facilitating him still getting an education and passing with him a university pass. And those were dark days. Siya Plaiki wanted to leave that school. Tando wanted to leave that school, because they felt they were going through certain things, that were not fair. And these are strong personalities in terms of kids. They're not a quiet group of guys that all suffer in silence, because there are those that suffer in silence. We've had some guys, Sianda Ngangane suffered in silence at a Rondebosch, for example. And we just trying to make sure that with that potential, we provide an opportunity for the kid to succeed. And that's my role as a coach. I think my role as a coach has changed. I used to be a ball thrower and teach technique, teach a cover drive. It's not about that, brother. That fight is not even needed, because these guys watch TV. They can play, man. You go to where my family is, Kualanga. My man, these kids will show you some special stuff, man. And all you got to do is just look and then create the pathway. So, transformation for me is it's weird, because we transform as teams transform. I watch teams with I go to Coke Week as a provincial coach for Gauteng, and the other hats, been fortunate enough to be the SM19 assistant coach and batting coach. And, there's other pressures, Mr. O. We can chat about those pressures that those boys went through at the World Cup, that we weren't in control of as a management. Private coaches in the ear, unfortunately, you got two black coaches, one as a head coach, one as an assistant coach. What do they know? They've never played at Lords. And we're trying to guide these guys and try to make sure that, they go forward. We're going to get fired, or there's one guarantee about coaching is you're going to get fired. But the injustice of some of the stuff that my wife was reading, that was said to my wife about me, people that I've never met, and, it's almost transformation. Sorry, but do only white people know cricket? Cry me a river, man. There's a history of South African cricket that is in the Eastern Cape, that is in Gualanga, that is in KZN, but no one tells that story. You know why? Because all the history we learn and we go to school, we hear about World War II, French Revolution. When are we going to hear about the kings and queens of Africa? So that's the situation where Mr. O is also saying our boys get lost when they go into these environments. And we've got to make sure that they understand who they are, where they come from, acknowledge it. You can choose whatever you want. You can straighten your hair. You can do whatever you want. But don't forget where you come from, brother, because where you come from is what makes you as a human being. And, and we all been clouded. We've all been through, if I can just leech off like Mr. O did earlier on and go into something. We've had a debate and a conversation on Instagram Live with one of the guys, and he was saying to me, what I don't like is that we are so cocooned and so get tunnel visioned, and because of all we see, why do we, you find that black guys at schools, black schoolboys, when we see it at our boys' schools, you go to a Rondebosch rugby game, they do not roll with the black girls. There's almost black on black violence, black on black racism towards the black girls, because they're loud and they're this and they're that, and they're not, they're not the white girls. White is right, and that's what these boys end up seeing. And after school, they're now a little bit more conscious about, shucks, if we're saying that about these girls, we're probably saying the same thing about our mothers. We're not respecting or treating our mothers with care. So, teaching these guys to understand that, to get back to the point, and understand that, be okay with who you are, understand where you come from, and please be a hell of a ambitious to be successful, because we want to see you and help you get there. So yeah, that's my view on transformation is, first of all, it's organic. You got to transform inside first, because if you are not, and you're picking two black batters and you're batting one at 1 and 1 at 6 to get rid of them, that is malicious compliance. And then you expect them to perform? No, you are absolutely knocking the door down. Because what happens is these coaches don't throw balls to these guys. They don't work with them. They've never been to their house. They don't know who they are. A black kid doesn't struggle with talent. I can tell you that. A black kid struggles with 1, identity, 2, love and support. All right, because our parents can't go to watch those games and sit there on a Saturday in the 65 over game and have a braai. They got to work. They're working for those people and watching their dogs and probably the baby that is at home, and raising the very same people that now sit in whatever platform and say that, you actually only need to have one black player, or black players don't know cricket and this and that. But the 8.9 something percent of the population that is the minority in this country is raised by black women. So I'm trying to understand how we can not transform inside when you sat on the back of that woman and she was cleaning that whole 7-bedroom house.
Yeah.
So
I mean, carry on. No, carry on.
So those are the the things that I look at as I'm a newborn black kid. Mr. O, they went through some really bad stuff, But for me, I caught the last bit of it, and then was one of the first few black kids to go to these Mr. O, what do you call them? Model C schools.
Yeah, Model C.
To one of the first, the only black guy at my primary school in KZN. Only black guy. And there was another Indian kid called Daniel. That two kids of color in the whole school. This is, I can't even remember how long ago, but this is grade 1, pre-primary. And then you got to swim upstream, brother, because that's the way it is. So having seen these things and experienced them, and hardships in the change room, being left out of teams, and you see it, but I'm a bit stubborn, man. I went and I want to put myself in that environment and show you. And that's the path I went, because of my personality. And, we can go into my history of playing. It was never a great record, but I went into an environment that I left my own community. I was shunned by my own community because I wasn't a certain tribe, if you could say that. Because I didn't want to do I didn't want to do what I was told. I wanted to be the best, that I could at that time. So so those are my views and my thoughts, and I'm thankful for this opportunity, guys.
Awesome, man. A lot of insight there. I mean, just a point you mentioned. You mentioned that transformation needs to be organic, right? I think organic was the word you used. So just going into sort of transformation directly here. Do you think, for example, let's just sort of mention the requirements. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but at a franchise level, for example, I believe it's the same at a semi-professional level as well. We have certain quantitative requirements, right? 6 players of color, three of which must be Black, African, so on and so forth. I mean, is that the best way to go about it? When, like what you were saying, we hear of kids who can't even get to training on time. They logistically, just for them to get from their house, to training is in itself a massive struggle. Does it help to say we need to pick 3 Black African players, but you're not addressing these micro sort of issues that both of you guys have brought up?
Yeah, I think those things, and thank you for that question, because I can speak about it because I've lived it, and also I deal with it.
Yeah.
So when I said transformation needs to be organic, it's very easy for a Black African coach or a Black coach to be prejudiced towards a Black player because of those circumstances, and it happens a lot in our system. Our Black coaches do not back our Black players because we are so worried about someone recognizing that we won. So that's not the fight. That's not the match. The match is making sure that Black player in 3 years' time has made a mark in the game through the work and the time and energy you put in. So being organically transformed is, yes, we must, and I will explicitly say, I still feel it's the bare minimum. 2 black African batters in the top order is not okay. And I've written a thing about it that I spoke to Khalid about it, because it's really easy to pick 2. But why don't we take it one step further, which is what I try to do and challenge myself, is let me work hard enough with my black African players that they are the top performers in my batting, in my top 6. And that means they need to bat in key match-winning positions. So you either open or you bat 3. Bonga Makakas live this. Levert Manjes live this. Emmanuel Matswiri's live this. Lindan Globu's live this. Whether they like it or not, the only reason why I'm putting you there, because I've seen you have the ability to do that. But then, with that ability, I must work. I throw balls from freaking 3 o'clock until sunset, until it's dark, until I can't see the ball. Then we stop, because I've put everything into you. And if you don't succeed, then I need to look at maybe on the mental side, did I prepare you well enough? On the physical side, did I teach you enough? So that's what it's about. Because if we're going to produce for a system that requires that, and I'm saying we need to challenge that system and produce more. And instead of 7-6, I'm sorry, but we should be 8-5 as a benchmark. Absolutely. But that's my opinion in terms of 8 players of color, 5 white players. Because there's always, and in my time as a provincial coach, there's always been a white player that gets picked, but ends up being the below par performer that could have been a black player or a player of color. He ends up being the passenger in the group. He doesn't have a role. He's a number 6 batter that bowls a little bit of off spin or a little bit of medium pace. But we leave out a black African batter because we told we must only have 2 of them in the top order. What's wrong with having 3?
You basically just described me at school, man.
Sorry, brother. No, I only feel this because, and ask me, I went irate. I went irate at Western Province once when I read an article or a Twitter feed that someone had said in the minority about there are too many half-baked average black cricketers playing semi-pro and franchise cricket. I went absolutely mental. Because then I pulled up numbers and Mr. O was like, what are you doing? Because I'm most good with that machine. What do you call it? No, the white man's machine. I'm good at that machine. So I went on Cricket Info and I looked up all the average white cricketers that have played for South Africa and played franchise cricket. And guess what? They have made a career for 10 to 15 years. And guess what they average? 30. They average 30, or they play test cricket and they average 30. And I'm going, what? Or 50 over cricket, and he's got a strike rate of 83. And I'm going, but you're abusing the bras that have had no coaching, no facilities, and they sorry, but I have to say this, not always backed in a team or a franchise team or semi-pro team. There's less time put into them. They've had to I used to run from Langa sometimes to get to Western Province Cricket Club. Because there's no taxi fare. So, and I was on school holidays, but I had to get to practice. I used to do it twice a week, and then I'd get a lift with the barman that lived in Manenberg. So he'd drive past the N2, drop me off, and then he would gooi home. Guys, come on, man. You can't be abusing those bras. Put the infrastructure and everything and support them and back them and throw. For every 1 hour you throw to a white player, you must throw 3 hours to a black player. I challenge coaches to do that every now and then, but guys obviously say I'm being an idiot. And these are just my friends that I'm talking to. Because that's what those guys need. You know? I can tell you now, Bonga will tell you, he's a batter. And he's a special batsman. And I was nearly in tears. The Cubs week innings when I just moved to Gauteng. And it was day 1 of Cubs week. And I hadn't been appointed as the SA 19 coach. Assistant coach and batting coach and stuff, but I knew a lot of these boys in the system. And first couple of months away from Bonga, it had been like 5 months, and we'd worked tirelessly on playing spin, because everyone says it's funny, it's a joke, but it's not funny anymore. Black players can't play spin because they just want to move. Guys, I watched the best display against my team, and I had 3 quality spinners playing that day. that all played SA under 19 at some point in the last 21 months that I've been. It was Gaudisa Molefe.
Sure.
He was the number one spinner at the time.
Proper.
Bryce Parsons, who's recently was the SA under 19 captain, and captained at the World Cup. And then it was Michael Copeland, who was 15 and a bit, Mr. O, who picked him from under 17 week. He was 15 and a bit, and he was a proper off spinner. Bonga Makaka, in a chase on a turning wicket in Stellenbosch, played the best masterclass of how not to bully spin, how to like perform an artwork of an innings. He's reverse swept. They put 2 points in. He swept to the leg side. They took square leg out. He lapped. They made square leg go further towards fine leg. He went into out over extra. He went down the wicket over mid on. He was hitting the ball. It was spinning in and out, and he was just rock star. And I take that down to Care, Mr. O cared.
Yeah,
Ashwell, the Cobras coach, cared. We had conversations with Bonga about how to play spin. I can't even. My shoulder will maybe tell you if you have to stick a needle there and check how many balls I've thrown. but that's the capability of a young black player if the same amount of care and resources is put in place.
Yeah.
For him, because I coach boys in Joburg that have nets that have been hitting and that I've been doing video sessions with since the beginning of lockdown, bruh. Now I can tell you now, Ntlan Tleko, who lives in Alex, he doesn't have a net. He's cooped up in his cage until it's free to go to school, which he's now can go to school. But at school, he can't hit.
Yeah.
So these are the disparities that we're dealing with, just on a cricket side, on a social level, on a transformation level. So the level playing field of, but he's not good enough, should never happen. He's got the potential. And Temba, in my view, to go on an example that everyone will love and understand, Temba will still average above some of the greats that are of the minority in Test cricket for South Africa, if given a long enough run.
Okay. That's crazy. So, Mr. O, Mr. O, I wanted to say something to you, and I wanted to ask something, and it's to both of you, because Siya, you also come from Cape Town, and we know that Cape Town, majority of the time, geographically, a lot of colored players come from Cape Town, etc. And it's only in South Africa really that when it comes to race, we are separating black, Indian, colored. Like with regards to that, we could all fall under the players of color or black players, etc. So there is an emphasis. To some people may see it as there's an emphasis on black African and not so much on colored players. Whereas my argument to that is with regards to, for example, if you look at the national setup, you got 6 players of color. 2 of them have to be black African over a period of time, and then the rest you can pick colored players. But I wanted to ask Mr. O, specifically working with a lot of the players that have come from difficult circumstances as colored players, what is it like to be a colored player in the system, an Indian player in the system?
But let me start off this way, saying it. In Cape Town at the moment, there's a narrative that the colored man has a narrative in Cape Town that in the apartheid era, he wasn't white enough. Post-apartheid, post-94, he is not black enough. So that is the narrative that goes around. These rules and stuff, the grown-ups is complicit in all of these stuff. We talk about transformation, right? So what is transformation? What is it? We talk about this big nice word, transform. We all would like to get to what Siya has alluded to earlier, to a level playing field. Brother, it's not going to happen in my time. Right?
It's not.
I've made peace with it. But for me, transformation. Let me tell you where I come from. So I come from two worlds. I was raised in two worlds, right? Like I said to you early on, 77, 78, I went to high school. 76, I was standard 5. What is that now? Grade, what, Siya?
Grade 7,
Grade
7.
Grade 7, yeah.
Right? So I was standard 5.
I didn't
Right?
know standards, but
And that is when
You don't even
the
know
riot
subs, bro.
started. Right? That is when the riot started. Soweto uprising, Langa uprising, and then we were politically conscientized around those things. Okay? And that's where my interest in politics started. But remember, I come out of a home where my father was born 1935. My mother was born 1937. Their parents still voted. Colored people used to vote before. We still voted in 1940. Our last election was 1948. In 1952, around about 52, we were taken off the voters' roll. And we were disenfranchised. The black man was always disenfranchised. He's never seen a polling booth until 1994. Right? So that is where I come from. So outside, I can be one thing. I can be with my mates, leading a protest, being involved in protests, burning tires. And there was a time that we said we don't eat red meat, or they can't come into the townships. We looted that. I've done a lot of funky stuff in my time. Right? But so now I get home. Remember, my father is my star. Is my father, so I listen to what they have to say. And like I said the other day, also on a different platform. So what happens now? The black man was demonized in the home that I came from. The word, I'm not going to say it. I would love to say it so that you can understand the severity of it. So the K word gets spoken about as part of the language in the home that I come from. Right? My father believed in the white man, and we were taught that way as a colored boy. So I can't come with political stuff inside the home. That's taboo, man. 94, just prior to the first vote, and we're all gearing up to vote, I'm living, and my pops comes and visits me, and he sees the ANC flag there, or he sees the face of Mandela in my home. Brother, that man went past. We didn't talk for quite some time. But then also, so now I come to transformation, what it means to me. So that is a little bit of my background.
Mr.
Right?
O, just before you get into the transformation talk, I just want to say to Siya, because I know he has to go, he this species just now. Thank you. Yeah, so Siya, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Try engagement, Mr. O. I know you're going to try interrogate me. There's people all over the world asking, Mr. O, you know this is going to be another conversation for you and I and the gents. I'm sorry that I can't.
Who are you going to visit lockdown at 9 o'clock?
Mr. O, I'm now married, and you know that I respect and love my queen so much that that you're not gonna win this. As soon as I mention my wife, you're gonna let me off. So guys, I'm really sorry I couldn't chat for longer. I would love to continue and have the conversation again, because myself and Mr. O, and guys, literally, if we were working for two different unions, which we are, we would still rather be roommates and talk until 6 a.m. and go and coach a game of cricket again and carry on. But
I'm sure there'll be a part 2. I'm sure there'll be a part 2 where we can talk about it again. Cool. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a great evening. Cheers. Cheers.
Shop, me.
Yeah. Sorry,
so
Mr.
just okay, my brother. You understand? So when I say we are malicious as grown-ups, we're talking about systems, structures, and the whole thing. The bottom line is the grown-up don't want to change. And that is why I wrote a little article one day, and I was interviewed or something like to that effect by SA Cricket magazine.
Yeah,
Right?
I remember doing an interview with you.
Yeah, and this is this is my view of transformation for Graham October. And it's all born out of the background that I come from. In order for me to accept and embrace transformation, I have to transform myself. I have to make that change in my life. Because remember, I still have the reminiscence and the residue of my parents. Right? Remember my first 22 years of my life, I lived with them. And what they taught me was ingrained in me. So now I have to unlearn those things. Right? Because let me tell you, before I go to the next point on that. So that is why I embrace transformation. And how did I teach myself? Through my kids. I have 2 kids. Oh, they're grown-ups today. But they didn't visit. There was a time that they did not visit their grandfather. Why? Because he was teaching them those things. What he instilled in me was instilling in them. And I had to unlearn those things and by using them. And when they come home from them and also use the K word, that is my time of teaching. And that's also my process of healing myself, because transformation first comes with me before I can transform. Right?
Yeah.
Your school system is not designed. It was never designed to accept people of color. Right? So those guys that attended those schools many years, that was an exception to the rule. It wasn't the rule. But now that the schools have started to normalize things and it becomes the rule, what they have not done, they have not, and here I speak to the grown-ups, to their moral conscience, whether you're the principal, head of department, head of cricket, or director of cricket, or whatever you are, you have not instilled change because you don't want to change. Because the system that you were raised is not designed to accept people of color. So when people of color started migrating to these schools on bursaries, which the school has offered because of their rugby or hockey or swimming or cricket potential, when they have not made the necessary adjustments. So I go to the school and I say, brother, this boy, when is he playing in your first 11? Because I think he's good enough. No. You get told you must be patient and rely on our system. There already, it said to me, there's 2 systems. There's something different here. You understand? So I can tell you, for instance, I'm not shy to say, you look at Afis, right? The great Afis. When last did they play in the schools competition T20? They do not qualify because they don't have players of color. And they make no bones about it, of not accepting black boys at the school. That's their policy. You see? So things has been designed in this country. Like for instance, the National Party, which ran this country for how long? Up until Mr. de Klerk succumbed. He did not give in. He did not say, oh, I'm going to free Mr. Mandela. He succumbed to outside forces and pressures, right, of the world. So he mustn't take the moral high ground on this one. So, but they have designed it to keep us under the cosh, to keep us oppressed. And how did they do it? One of the pillars was education. The other pillar is religion. So I was raised, born, bred, baptized, confirmed, everything, Sunday school in the Afrikaans church, Nederduits Gereformeerde Kerk. We only saw the preacher was only white in our church. And we were taught that that's the right way to go. You see, until the colored part of that people came together, and it is today known near the days gereformeerde sendingkerk. That includes everybody. But those are because that is where they can affect change through religion, through schools. All I'm saying to our schools is, on the backdrop of these youngsters making a stance, all these years they have denied. Now it's not true. It's pie in the sky. These youngsters have now, across the board, black, white, pink, everybody stood and they made a stance. I take the Bishop's Boys, for instance. I commend those youngsters, right? Because it is something they're going to leave behind for the generations to come. But the principles say we are engaging. We are continue engaging. I want to know, when did you start that engagement? If you're continuing on to something, you have to start it. In my opinion, you haven't started that engagement yet. That is why these youngsters go through what they go through at these schools. And it's not a lie. Everything that we spoke about or addressed with these schools, the fact that the proof is in the pudding now. These kids came out and said, yes, it does happen. You see?
Yeah.
Yes, Khalid?
Yeah, so Dan, I'm just going to give Dan one more question to ask you, Mr. And then we'll sign off because it's already at the hour mark, and we just want to have a quick summary of everything before we say bye to you.
So maybe, just sort of going straight back to the cricket. I think we spent an hour sort of bashing sort of, everything or the lack of effort or policy put in, into the right places at a schoolboy level and before that. And, we can argue all day about whether physical requirements are the right way or the wrong way to go. Is there anything positive you can mention? What has CSA done right?
Listen to me. Let me tell you. When you come, you have to. CSA have started somewhere, and they have. Listen to me. Before there was no effort. Let us get to that background. Let's get to the background of CSA. United Cricket Board of South Africa never made a woeful effort. Dr. Ali Bacher, Joe Pamensky, and those people. They talk now, yes. Mr. Bacher is now speaking all over. But he never made an effort to bridge that divide. That's the same Mr. Bacher that brought the rebel to us here. 92, when South Africa got accepted by the cricket world back into the fold. He took everybody to India. That was our first game. At Gwalior, Eden Gardens. It's only white people. So as much as Mr. Bacher, Mr. Joe Pamensky, and these guys say they have helped, they haven't helped a bit, not in my opinion. So unity come, and over time, we have to start somewhere. And so CSA has said, as you have alluded to early on, to the numbers of 3 black Africans, X amount of players of color, and so forth and so forth. There's a start. Now we have to see how best is this model still viable going into the future? And that is what CSA must revisit. You cannot also just put up the numbers every time at the drop of a hat. And then you say, we are under pressure from the government. Right? Whether it's rugby or soccer, we're forever under pressure from the government to transform, and Sescock and all those people that puts these things in place. But when you go to Parliament, your steering committee or CSA, your federation, you have an opportunity to say, this is what our targets are, or quotas, or whatever name you want to give it. Right? But you cannot also go and say, okay, we're going to have now 6 black Africans in the top order. You understand? You must weigh up these things. I think we would like to get to that place of, like everybody says on these funky
social
stuff,
media.
social media. Now it's horses for courses. Let's select the best team to represent us. We're not there yet. The inequalities is too big. So yes, I understand. We must also understand the financial model here. We need to be in the top 3 in the world for incoming tours. If we end up like Zimbabwe, nobody wants to tour us. There's no revenue. So I understand that business model, right? But we should spread this game. And this is not only CSA's issue. It is the government has to play a role here. Because CSA has now rolled out a hub system, right? Which we are slowly but surely seeing the youngsters coming through. And that hub system is for most of the boys that does not attend these previously advantaged schools. So
can you maybe just go into the hub system quickly? Okay. You know, what exactly is the hub system? How does it work? You know, who?
All right. Okay. So the hub system, you have 8 hubs in Cape Town and a regional center. So what happens? So we have a hub up the road from me, for instance. We have a hub at Ottoman's Cricket Club, right? So all the surrounding areas like Bonteville, Heideveld, Manenberg sends their better boys to those nets for specialized coaching, of which it is 5 days a week, and on a Saturday, or out of those, the better boys goes into the regional performance center, which there's 1, and they play mainstream cricket on a Saturday, and everybody else plays in the week. But that is where CSA has attempted, and it's going to take time, but we're starting to see the fruit of those players coming through. You see, we need more opportunities. I understand. The government at the moment is tied up with a lot of stuff. It can't even provide a proper groundsman and a roller and water at the municipal field, which is their responsibility, our taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
But CSA has made that effort, and I have to commend CSA for the effort that they have made in running these systems to get more boys to a specialized coaching center or venue, for that matter.
What is the quality of the coaching at these hubs?
You have to have a certain level of education, cricket education, and whatever. Let me tell you, there's some guys in the system that is giving their all. And the quality of coaching, coaching can always improve, if I might say so. But it is not running down the system and the crack coaches. No. There's enough good coaches out there. All that they need is a bit of support, a bit of love, and a bit of care to say we value what you do. Sometimes because of the hecticness and the up and down, and your life is so taken up that you can't get to all of these guys. But let me tell you, there's good guys in there's quality coaches with good hearts. You understand? And for some, and it's not about the money. It's not about the money, because I think they can be paid much more for the time and the effort that they put in there. But for me, what I like, I can always tap into, with the role that I have, I can always tap into those coaches to hear, what's on the market there by you? Who have you seen? Here's a youngster, Dan, coming through the system. But so I will make my way out there and have a look, and where's there? Okay, I'll see the practices, and then I will see where Dan plays on Saturday. And then I will start following. And then I will meet Dan. Let me hear who you are, what makes you tick, what keeps you going, and that is where I pick up. And so CSA has put in enough effort. They're rolling out stuff. Okay, obviously with this COVID and the budgets and all those things, because cricket is reliant on incoming tours and outgoing tours, TV rights, and so forth and so forth. That is why, as I sit here, I hope in August, whether it's without players, without fans or supporters, they're playing in empty stadiums as long as India do arrive. Because that's money in the coffers, and eventually that money will filter down into your grassroots structures. Our schools in our colored and black areas, They don't play much cricket. And that is where the hubs come in. You understand?
Yeah.
Where I live in Bonteheuwel. There's 14 primary schools and 3 high schools. There's 17 schools in Bonteheuwel. Can you believe it? Not one of them play cricket. Not one of them play cricket.
Sure.
Because there's a apathy on the teacher. The teacher sits with 48 in the class, brother. Get jacked up against the blackboard. You still think that guy smarts to run the cricket team this afternoon?
Yeah.
You understand? So these boys will eventually go to your hubs, and out of the hub system, they will be selected into a regional program, and that is actually your excellence component of the hub system, which I'm a believer in. We must just need to continuously drive, and obviously CSA can only do so much.
Yeah.
We on the ground, we need to drive those processes.
Thank you a lot, Mr. O. I'm sorry that I have to cut you off here. You said a hell of a lot in this interview, and we had a really amazing conversation. I thank you a lot for coming on and being so honest with us and giving us some insight. Guys, please go back and watch this, because it's for anybody that is in this industry and has loved cricket needs to hear the stories that have been told today. So thanks a lot, Mr. October, for coming on. And I'll definitely get you on again to have a chat about this again soon.
No problem, my brother. No problem. Just one thing before we go, Khalid, like I said to you earlier, I want to use this opportunity and just the flack that comes our way. I'm one of those when it comes to Black Lives Matter, right? It's not only Black lives. People need to understand this. It's not only Black lives that matter, right? I explained to you early on, houses up the road from me burns. 6 shacks in a yard burned down. The fireman rocked up and he watered that place down. People said, yeah, but what about our houses that is in close proximity? He said, now that is the area of concern, because that place is under fire. So they have to attend, the water should go there. This is exactly the same. My analogy is exactly the same. At this point in time in the world, the water goes to the black man. You see, so it's not a matter of Black Lives Matter and we don't care about anything, and we are not aware of what happens in our country, what happened now in this lockdown period. Like I said to you earlier on, I can take you back to 87, when the first friend of mine died, Ashley killed by the security forces. And there's a stream of them. So I'm happy, Khalid, to continue this conversation on another day.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot within me.
Yeah,
you see?
Definitely. We definitely have to possibly a part 2, 3, and 4 whole saga.
No, because this is my thing. Because let me tell you, if we do not know where we come from, if we do not know that history, we are on our way to nowhere, my friend. You see? And even the history, that history that was taught in the schools, even that history is cockeye history. It's not true history. So your search must always be to get to the fullness of understanding. You see? People tend to search for knowledge. Knowledge without wisdom means nothing, my brother. So you get to the fullness of understanding, like myself, even at my age, I'm still on that journey. Seeking understanding. Get to the fullness of understanding, and so that eventually I can get to the maturity of consciousness. That's who I am, my brother. Thanks for the evening, my gents.
Thanks,
Dan. See you, bud.
Cheers, sir. Nice to meet you.
Cheers, bud.
Okay, Dan. So we had an amazing conversation right now, I feel, that really got deep into the whole topic. I know we can get much deeper and we can take it a lot further and obviously talk about a lot of other things, but we don't have much time and we don't want to bore people too much with us seeing our faces for too long. But just to sum it up, for me, what is the major talking point that you got out of this conversation today? Would you say that from this last hour?
Yeah, look, it seems like the guys who are sort of in the system, in the trenches on the ground, they're worried about issues long before, how many Black Africans must we pick, how many players have cut, the issues start long before that. We all throw around the word grassroots, we have to start at the grassroots. We have to start at the grassroots. And it's disheartening to hear Mr. October say, it's not going to be fixed during my lifetime. It does sort of show the attitude towards it now, or maybe the effort being put into it. It is difficult to hear. A part of me doesn't think that South African cricket will get back to where it was until we're able to tap into a bigger talent pool. Right now we're picking all our sides from a very small pool of talent, if you want to call it that. And it worked when we had 6 or 7 world-class legends who just happened to sort of play at the exact same time, and maybe that clouded the sort of underlying issues that were, that existed at the time. But until we really sort of tap into that largest pool of players, I don't think, or I can't see us being, number one in the world and dominating Test cricket again. How you go about doing that, we could have a whole new series on that. Mr. O could talk for 10 hours if he wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's incredible, and the talk about it is that for me is that yes, you need to understand the struggles that people are going through, and yes, transformation is something that needs to take place, that a lot of people will, that's the argument that comes about and what people speak about. This is the start of something for the future. I think that the more people that play cricket, the more people in our country that play cricket, is very important that we can get more and more and more to play cricket, because we won't get to that stage of picking players for the like Siya said, and like Mr. October said, that you won't get to that stage of picking players from a pool that's saying, okay, because they're good enough, they play, until we can develop everybody in the country as best as possible. And I think that the hubs system, from what I've seen of it, is a good step from CSA in that direction. Creating environments, creating opportunities for people to be able to play the sport is very important. I can give you an example of when I was in the Netherlands. And in the Netherlands, Netherlands is a very small country. There's not a lot of people that stay in Holland. It's a very small European country. But football is their biggest sport, and judo as well is one of the biggest sports. But football is the biggest sport, probably the biggest sport in the world. What I saw with regards to development was there was always, they put in place little training camps where people can play and get coached. And out of that pool, they will work it down to about 11-11 or 15-15, 2 squads or whatever the case may be. And then they'll have games against each other, and scouts would come to the game from various clubs around the country, from Utrecht, from Amsterdam, from Ajax, all of that. Come scout these players and then pick them accordingly to their academies. These hubs that CSA are producing at the moment and putting around the countries, I feel are very important for that purpose, because people will be able to, our coaches from different systems, schools maybe, can go there and check. But yes, like you said, grassroots is very important, and making sure that people are playing. I spoke to Andra Nal from KFC when she was talking about the KFC mini cricket program and what they are doing for you can say transformation in the country, or development of cricket in the country. It's exposing more people of color to the sport, and exposing more people and giving them facilities, giving them the equipment to be able to play the sport. And that, I think, is very important to the development.
Yeah, I mean, that ties in with this last question here from Jean.
So yeah. So guys, I think I lost Dan, but I think it's fine from that perspective. I think we've gotten a good conversation in over here over the last 1.5 hours almost, 1 hour 20 minutes. I think we dealt with a lot of issues that you guys can listen to and go back to and hear and talk about. It's something that we can never stop talking about. It's always about looking forward and staying positive in this times, and thinking about how we can help, even if it's in a small way, even if it's by us as this platform to give those stories a chance to come to light. So thanks a lot for guys for tuning in. Um, I really appreciate everything of all the support from your side. Thank you to Mr. O. Thank you to Siya again. And we will definitely chat to you guys soon. So don't forget to tune into all our shows, like, subscribe, share this post, and do all of those things, on social media, on the social medias, as Mr. O would say. So thanks a lot for tuning in.